Hey everyone, welcome to the Run Rabbit Run, a 100 miler 2023. I'm Jamel Curry of Mountain Outpost and here with Jason Schlarb, three-time winner of this race. And we are joined this afternoon now by Zoe Rome and Denise Bourassa. Thank you both for being here. We've got a lot of incredible women out here racing the Hares division this year. Zoe, your first time at Run Rabbit Run. Denise, you've been here 3 times before, so
Yes.
Welcome both of you.
Yeah,
How's
excited
it going
to be
this
here.
week?
Amazing. Yeah, just so excited to be here and hopefully peep some fall colors.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same. I mean, the mountains are an amazing place to be this time of year, and coming back to Run Rabbit Run with a incredibly competitive field is going to be amazing.
Yeah, Denise, maybe start off. Tell us a little bit about your history with this race. I think it was 2015 the first time you came out here.
Yeah, so 2015, that's right. It's been a little while. And I think that year I placed 5th for the women. And again, a very competitive race. Being able to go down to Fish Creek and then that out and back to see exactly where the front runners are is a unique thing to see in any race, just for placement wise, as well as kind of getting that eye on other runners. But yeah, it's been a few years, and so I'm excited to be back. 2023.
What draws you to Run Rabbit Run, Zoe?
I actually came out here in 2019 to cover it for Trail Runner magazine, and I think seeing the level of competition and also just seeing the quality of course and how it's run, like for a race in Colorado, I think it has some of the least redundant, like most amount of single track that you can do in a 100-mile race. And it's a hard rock qualifier, and I think all of those things just make it a really compelling option for people who like the 100-mile distance. And I think it really is just, the course quality and the competition quality.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about preparation this year. Zoe, just checking out your race results. I don't think you've raced anything this year so far. How's your training block been? You feeling ready to go? How's that playing out?
Actually did a couple races. I did the UTMB Argentina 50 miler in May and the San Juan Summer Solstice in June. So I feel pretty like ready for mountain adventure. Took a little bit of time in August to sort of like collect myself, get myself together, rest a little bit and get excited for sort of the final training block. And I feel really healthy and like mentally just excited to be here.
And have you been able to come out and train on the course?
Yeah, I did about 10 days at the end of August here, and I think I saw all but maybe 15 or so miles of the course, sort of just like in scattered, like just in sections. And so I'm really excited to see what the dynamics of the course are when you link it all together. But just like even training on the course was so amazing. The sections up on the divide are just incredible. And again, some of the highest quality single track I think you can see in a Colorado race. And the Fish Creek section is just so unique and kind of gnarly in its own way, and then you get some like fun ski resort running. So I really feel like it combines all these distinctive elements of Colorado running in a really kind of fun puzzle.
That's awesome. And then Denise, for you, you've had, I think, quite the year so far. You're out at Sedona Canyons early on in the year. Tell us about your training block leading up to this.
Yeah, my year's been a little bit mixed. I did jump into Sedona Canyon 125, which was an amazing race, and I had a pretty good turnout from that. Had done some training for Istria, and like other athletes, I got sick right up before the race and had to pull out. Moving towards Run Rabbit, I went over into Utah and did the Katsina Mosa, which is 100K, and it's a gnarly race. I think I told the race director, I'm like, are you trying to kill me at the end? Because a lot of it was overgrown and just gnarly. Mountain running nonetheless. So building up for Run Rabbit, I think that was an appropriate race to throw on my calendar. And then coming out to Steamboat and getting a few days of training on the course just as a reminder of what running at 10,000-ish feet for a few days in a row feels like. So I think building up to it, I'm feeling pretty good. And again, I love the competitive nature of this race. I love being able to just toss my hat in with other athletes, and as a almost 54-year-old runner, it's kind of, there's new elements every time I toe the line to a race and, working through those.
Curious from both of you, talking about the field, who are you both most excited to see out here lining up this year?
I'm going to shout out my friend and teammate Corinne Shalvoy. She's just such an inspiration to me and an incredible human, and I feel like she does so much to lift other folks up in the ultra running community. So if I'm able to get anywhere near matching that energy, I think I'll have had a really great day for me.
Wow. There's quite the list, and there's a number of names I don't recognize, but there's one that just popped up as of, I think, yesterday, Michelle Yates. Oh my gosh. It's amazing to see her name back on the list, but, I have Nicole. She's such an amazing athlete, whether she's in the mountains. She's run this race before. I think it's exciting to see her back out here. It'll be fun to see what she can do. And I'm just going to go back to all of those new runners that are showing up every single time there's a race. You just never know. So, wow, it's going to be a competitive field and a great race.
Do you, Zoe, I've seen, some of your results at running at Red Mountain Run and San Juan Solstice and a lot of technical high alpine kind of racing. Run Rabbit Run, I kind of consider, mostly running, besides the start at the beginning and then, the steep descent back down into town in the morning. What do you think about that, and how do you feel about that? And then also, I think that you work with David and Megan, right? And both of those coaches are world renowned for being able to get athletes to run fast. What are your thoughts about that, and has it impacted your training this summer?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely came into the sport from like a hiking and mountaineering background, so I've always felt drawn to like Telluride Mountain Run, for example, with the Mile of Sky is like my favorite race section on a course as of today, open to change. And I love it because it's so interesting and technical, and there's very few sections like that in courses in the United States generally. It's a true mountain run. And so I actually, but for longer distances, I also do like running, like, being able to sort of get some solid turnover, I really enjoy. And one of the reasons I really felt drawn to this race is it sort of meets in the middle of like, you have to bring sort of your, the mountain disciplines to play with a little bit of the technicality, a little bit of the altitude, a little bit of the like time on feet. But I have really been in my running since working with David, working on my economy and efficiency and just like ability to continue to have decent turnover even when I'm tired and like kind of improving. I came in with pretty good fatigue resistance, but it was more about like raising the ceiling because the floor was like fine. So really just trying to work on raising that ceiling. And I think, again, one of the things that is so cool about this race is it's a hard rock qualifier, but like it's not a power hike race. Like you gotta be really ready to run. And I'm really excited to see what my legs are able to do past like mile 80. So that's what I'm super curious about.
Yeah.
Zoe, I know you working for Trail Runner, you're kind of covering the sport, also participating in the sport, which is awesome. How do you view this race over the years, or like how does this race stack up out there in the world? I mean, there's a lot of what I've seen, really unique community around this race, a lot of just organizational quirkiness of the two different race start times. And we were talking about this earlier. It's kind of cool to have the elite runners, the Hares, move their way through the Tortoise field and having that camaraderie on course, and then also the noon start.
Yeah, I think, again, like one of the things that I really love about this race is that it has really specific dynamics, right? Like the noon start, you're running through the full night, like no matter what, you're moving up through the field of tortoises. And I think that all of those things, like as an athlete, are really compelling and sort of like make an interesting case. But I also think, like as someone covering the sport, especially at this time where things are growing and commercializing really quickly, I feel like this race sits at a really amazing and compelling nexus of it's really accessible. It's not overly commercial, but it's also really high quality. I think sometimes events can get caught up in their own grassrootsiness for the sake of grassrootsiness and forego things like adequately stocked aid stations and like well-marked courses. And here you get like this really like grassroots community feel. You get the idea that it's not a part of like a huge racing conglomerate. You get that it's like tied to these legendary races like Hard Rock, but you also get that it's really central in a core trail running community, right? Like it has a super distinctive sort of group of folks around it, and it connects with the community while still like providing an amazing experience if you're, you know, coming in DFL or if you're racing for $10,000.
Well, yeah, and also having a huge prize purse. Like that's kind of the interesting dichotomy of all of that. And it's like one of the biggest prize purses in the sport, yet also all those other factors. Like the organizers of this race have chosen to essentially volunteer their time to produce this race so that there can be this huge prize purse to move the sport forward for the elites in the sport and the athletes in the sport that are trying to devote their lives to this sport and competing, which is really cool.
And it's a non-profit, and I think a lot of times, you know, I am not a pro in the event direction field, so all of this with a grain of salt, right? But people, I think, sometimes put things up as like a false dichotomy, or like it can be high quality or it can make money. Like it can be grassroots or it can be commercial. And I think that events like this really show that like when you're raising the bar on the sport, you can be both and you can raise money for awesome nonprofits and you can attract a really kick-ass elite field. And I think that is sort of the energy I would love to see more folks in the sport embrace, is like it's a yes and sort of undertaking.
You know, being here for the first edition in 2012 and Denise being here in 2015, you know, the Run Rabbit Run kind of started as the 50 mile was a premiere. It was the 50 mile. For the U.S. before North Face, San Francisco, and events like that happened. And then they switched gears and put their motivation and time into this 100-miler. And, you know, the first year there was Dave Mackey, there was Timmy Olson, Debo, myself. I mean, Carl Meltzer was here. And then I feel like it was during the era of Ultra Run of Champions, which also kind of was this going for this national recognition kind of, you know, feel to the race. And you know, that I feel like a lot of the grassroots kind of people got discouraged or did not like the approach. And I feel like for the few years after that first year with all those names that I mentioned, it kind of hasn't been as Western States like, or even Leadville like. And that progression has been interesting to the point where now we're finally, I feel like, starting to get back to that level of participation and eliteness of this event. I guess my question is like, what do you think about this, Denise, and what do you think about it? And you know, a lot of people feel that, you know, maybe Run Rabbit Run or a race like that is throwing too much money and it's all
really encourages the competitive field, and it's different than UTMB, right? I don't know that there's a prize purse for the people who won besides the sponsors that support the athletes. And so I think having a race as well as the organization behind it that allows competitive elite athletes, men and women, to toe the line and perhaps come away with a nice little something to help support what they have a passion for. You know, as well as, you know, having it support their, you know, the side of the sport that we don't talk about is insurance. How do people pay for insurance if they're a elite athlete and they're professional and all they do is invest all of their time and energy in racing? Having a race, again, that just supports the athlete, the competitive athlete, with some money so that they can move forward and continue doing what they love doing. I don't know. I think it's pretty amazing, and I think it's different than, you know, some of the other super sports that are out there, I guess.
Yeah, I think, you know, it can be easy to look at, you know, the money on paper and look at maybe the race on paper and have an opinion about it. But I think once you come and you connect with this community, you connect with the athletes, it's pretty hard not to challenge maybe some of those preconceived notions about what this is. Because I remember like when I just came out as a journalist to cover it, I was really blown away with sort of the care and attention that went into truly cultivating this event, really being intentional with, like, especially the year I came out here, they were really trying to speak to more female oriented runners and like bring more women into both the Hares and the Tortoise division. And I feel like being really intentional in that way, like, again, is that always gonna transfer to like social or like quippy social media copy? Probably not. But as an athlete, you can always pick up on those small details, like who's paying attention, who's really trying to grow a community here versus who's trying to, you know, slap a logo on something and get it out the door. And I think that anyone who's skeptical should just come and sort of check it out for themselves.
Awesome. I don't have a whole lot more. Thank you guys. Thank you both. Do you have anything else, Jason?
No, I'm really excited to see both of you. You got both are inspiration. Zoe has a book that has just come out, The Sustainable Runner. Check that out. Where can we follow you or see what you both are up to?
Yeah, you can check out my work on Outside Online and Trail Runner Magazine under the name Zoe Rome, and my book is available at all major book retailers, and I'm on Instagram as @carrotflowersz.
And yeah, Tiny Debo. That's where you'll find me on Instagram.
Awesome.
Well, good
Thanks
luck.
so much, you guys.
Best
Thank
of
you so
luck.
much.
Thanks for having us.
And
Thanks.
yeah, stay tuned for more interviews from Mountain Outpost. Thanks, everyone.